This is a Pyramid One International Network presentation. Good evening, and welcome to Pyramid One Radio. Your soul is an energy. Catch it. Nurture it. Love it. This is the now. Believe in the universe and say, I am. Let me tell you a little bit about the guest coming up. Actually the host, actually a friend, actually a mentor. His name is Jamie Clark, a person who is here to help the world. He was born in Ohio. Jamie had early signs in life that he would someday be helping people with his remarkable talents. As a child, he was concerned about being different from others. With that, he was going on in his mind. Through years of study and a series of profound revelations, Jamie discovered that he had the gift of psychic intuition and could also communicate messages and feelings between people living and those who have left this physical plane of existence. In other words, he can communicate with those who we have loved and lost. Now, with thousands of powerful connections made worldwide and years of experience as his guide, Jamie offers this healing phenomenon to those who need it most. People searching for life, direction, and guidance, as well as those seeking answers and closure from family and friends that have passed. However, you can become fearless. Being in control of your destination has an empowerment. Our mind, ourselves, has the ability to create a future, good or bad, by having a read or attending one of Jamie's sessions. Not only can you understand where you are headed, but you can reprogram your future. And my favorite, to be yours. What's next? I say this all the time on the show. Jamie said it all the time on the show. Something that we believe in. Something that you should believe in. It's called unconditional love. Let me tell you some more. Unconditional love is a behavior and a feeling towards someone. Jamie says he's taught many the techniques of how to take action. Once you achieve unconditional love, your world, your whole world, will change in many, many wonderful ways. May I introduce to you, to the world, to the universe, a friend and a mentor, Mr. Jamie Clark. Oh yeah.
That's good, sir. Hey, I want to get into this quickly because I know time is going to fly. Today's special guest is Tina Escoto, and Tina is the owner of Mystic Horse Journeys, Her services include trance healer, medium, psychic, mentor, teacher, spiritual guidance, gold Christ light healing, animal communicator, and healer. Tina also uses all of her abilities to help individuals open up to their spiritual Pandora's box. She uses her own personal experiences with spirit to help people understand their own possibilities within guiding them on their own unique path. May I introduce Tina Escoto. Tina.
Hey, how are you?
Good, and thanks for coming to have fun with us. You know, I think it's a lot of interesting dynamics in how you work and your modalities that I think people would be very interested at.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, you and I and many other people are part of the I Empowerment team, which is a great organization to help ourselves and others. That's the point. That kind of a dynamic, I think we're all being brought together. And so, Tina, when did you discover your abilities? Was there an experience? What happened?
I've had lots of experience over my lifetime. It started as a child, but I shut them down not realizing it. I think I shut them down probably around 2 or 3. But I always had abilities to read people psychically, and I didn't realize it. I just used it in corporate America, thinking it was just common sense, business smarts, things like that. So throughout my career, I constantly used that. But in about 13 years ago, I saw my first dead person again. And that's what really opened things up for me on my path.
Were you just sitting there? How did you experience this connection with the other side? Just dropped in or what?
Yeah, it was a drop in spirit. My next door neighbor had committed suicide over Memorial Day weekend. And that Tuesday I went back to work, and I'm at work, and all of a sudden he pops in and would not leave me alone. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. He was there. And I finally had to make a phone call to his soon-to-be ex-wife, asking his forgiveness. He wanted her to forgive him. And it was the craziest call I ever made, because she wasn't a real believer. She was a Christian. And they were on the outs, and they were getting divorced. So she really didn't want anything to do with him. And he was so menacing. He would not leave me alone until I made that phone call.
Yeah, he knows who you are, huh? Like,
yeah.
Hello? Like,
exactly.
All right.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was really crazy.
Well, you know, and it's impressive because for me, I basically remember 5 years old. For you to go, well, 2 or 3, I'm like, holy cow, that's impressive. For that, with you being able to shut it down, are you able to comprehend, like, were you seeing things back then? Were you feeling things so overwhelmingly that it became scary? Why did you shut it down with that natural talent?
It was scary. It was scary because I remember being petrified to sleep at night. I wanted the light on, or I'd sneak in the bedroom with my brothers or my parents. And back then, you know, my parents knew nothing about this world. So, oh, you're just having a nightmare, go back to bed. But I remember being paralyzed with fear in my bedroom. And it didn't dawn on me until a few years ago that I actually was seeing things, because, you know, my mom had passed away early in life. I was 23, and my gifts really haven't come in at that point. And so I didn't have anybody to ask, hey, was I like this as a kid? And it just dawned on me, that's why I was so scared when I was little. Petrified, just petrified.
Well, I'm the same. I don't like the dark completely, man. I've been to that void once.
Yeah.
It was weird. Now, with it, because you have so many modalities, what is trance healing and how does that work?
Trance healing is absolutely amazing. What I do is I go into a semi-trance state, and spirit enters my body. So I have a whole realm of spirit healers that work through me for healing purposes. And I'm just intrigued with it, amazed at what the spirit realm can actually do through my vessel. And I don't really play a role in it. It's just my vessel that they're using. They do all the work and all the healing. And I've had some amazing, amazing results with this. I can do it remotely. I can do it in person. It happens fairly quick. It's within 10 to 15 minutes. And people feel spirit actually touching them when I work on them.
And here's the thing, because the remotely, I'm right there with you. You don't have to touch them. It's all the intent. How does that work? How do you think we're able to make those connections even through the ethers of distance?
Well, energy is energy. I mean, we're doing this through a network. We're not in person. We're not touching each other, but yet we're able to communicate. To me, it's the same way. I prefer to have a picture of the person so I can mentally get an image of them that when I'm working, but spirit knows no bounds. They can go wherever. And like I said, I'm working with a gentleman in Philadelphia. He's got kidney disease. And I've been working with him for a few months now, and his kidney functions are slowly going up so he doesn't have to be put on dialysis.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, have you done any scientific studies, anything to quantifiably validate this? Because for me, I've done scientific studies, it puts a little bit more validity instead of, oh, you one of them, to go, well, quantifiably, it's been proven, all that. Have you done something like that? Because to me, that is fascinating. You, like me, we're never the healer, only the facilitator. Each person heals themselves. But for you to vibe with those other soul prints of consciousness to flow through that body and work that magic, I would be interested to see that on like a scientific aspect. How about also a little bit of, the heat signatures, all of these different things, the things that get the hemispheres of the brain, because these talents, like I do, everyone can do anything we're doing. It's, do you choose to connect with it and what level? Because you and I are about empowerment, right? See, this is so natural, it's supernatural. Let's go, man. And it's the same old information, just in an updated way. And I think being able to be offered the opportunity in whatever way to validate this a little bit more is a really good thing, because sometimes it's the slow, methodical growth that we need to have the comfort with. And are you seeing, because for me and what I do, over the past number of years, I am having a lot of people come to me from all of these beautiful religions that their pain is outweighing their fear of condemnation. And they'll be sitting in front of me going, oh, I've never done this before, and the church don't think too highly of it. And, so I just give them a little bit of information. But when they can get that going, this isn't so scary. And not only that, it's empowering. And there's no way you could know that except we know it. Click. I love that, because they empower themselves. That's when it's huge, as, at least for me and kind of like you, we're Joe Schmo. I don't know them, and I don't mean to be rude, but I don't want to know anything about them prior to the reading. Do you get other circumstances, like if you're doing a healing modality, will you also vibe with some psychic potentials of their life experience? Do you pick up other aspects with the modalities? Because I know you blend quite a few of them.
Well, what I do with a trance healing session, I will typically put the person on the table. We do singing bowls, and then I do my trance healing. I'm out of the picture completely when I do trance healing. Spirit takes me completely out of it. I go into like a black room, and they take over my body, and they do the healing work. So I don't know what they're working on. The only time that I might have an indication of what they're working on is how they move my body, because of the experience I've had with prior clients. But afterwards, I'm finding that my sessions are getting a little longer, because after I have the healing session, I sit down and talk with them, and things start popping in psychically. It's like downloads coming of past trauma that they're holding on to that's causing this illness that they've got. So it's getting a lot deeper. It's like layers of an onion. It keeps unfolding and unfolding. And every session that I have, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and more things are exposed and healed. So I find it's to me, it's very fascinating. Getting back to the scientific, I work with people that are under medical care. So I do get it proven scientifically by their results, their test results. I had one lady that she has a tumor in the left side of her brain. And I started working on her to shrink the tumor, because she couldn't mentally handle it disappearing completely, So we worked on shrinking the tumor. She went back to the Barrows Institute for her follow-up, because she was supposed to have surgery. And she went in, and they did a scan on her, and the doctor says, well, I don't know nobody told you needed surgery. It's too small to operate. And she said, you told me we needed surgery. He goes, no, I didn't. And he had to go back in the notes and found out, oh, yes, we did tell you that. Well, it's too small to operate. Come back in 6 months. So I do get results like that. And on my website, I have a picture of a gentleman that I was working on that had stage 4 cancer. And his wife took a picture before I worked on him and after. So there's a visual of a lump in his neck, a lymph node lump that went completely down. So I do have some of that going on. Have I been to a doctor and worked with a doctor scientifically? No.
Are you interested in doing that?
I'm just seeing the results of my clients.
So, because I just find it interesting also, as you know, you're talking, I don't like the dark, and all of a sudden they're going to push you in a dark room. Like, holy moly, talk about facing your fears. Now, is that the capacity? Because I know I have other people that I'm aware of that do some trance channeling as well. And to me, I don't let people flow through me in that way.
Yeah.
But it's that ability that I've seen them shift their energy and almost sometimes shift their features.
Yes.
Has that ever happened to you? Has somebody made a comment in any way, or have you seen that?
It happens all the time. I transfigure. So when I'm doing a demonstration, you'll see my face start to contort. That's the first healer that comes in. He is a doctor, and that's the only commonality. My face contorts. He comes in and opens up the spiritual door for all the other healers that come in. I have hundreds and hundreds of healers that come through, depending on what the person needs. And so that's the beginning, and then the healing happens, and my face will contort. And you'll see images over my face. Some people that can see, you know what I mean? You know, there might be psychic or mediums and things like that. They'll say, well, I saw this Indian over you, or I saw this doctor, or I saw this guy that's 6'5" over your body. I've also done some thermal imaging while I do this healing work, because I like the concrete evidence. And when you look at the thermal imaging, you will see spirit come in, and they'll be on the opposite side of what I'm working on. So it'll be very, very cold on one side, the opposite side of what I'm on. And if I move over to that side, they move over to the other side. So I do have some documentation with that. I'm still playing with that.
That's awesome. You know, so as you're doing that, be open, because you might have an opportunity or two to be on a show or an episode or, you know, something along those lines, because you're already strongly going in that direction. Now, in addition, I think you've already written a book or two, but there's another book in your energy field, and it vibes with maybe some of the experiences, more the integration of, you know, this and into life and where we're going from here. It's got a really good energy that I feel like people are interested in going, yeah, but who are you, Tina? And how do you do that stuff? Because, you know, I used to hear it's that scary stuff, but yeah, you're really down to earth. And, you know, I think when you can put that practicality of spirituality, meaning you don't have to meditate 80 hours a day, it's tune in, learn to quiet that mind in whatever way, let the trees sway, whatever works for you. But when they can do that, and as you pointed out with that lovely young lady, that is only she allowed it to get to a certain size. She couldn't let it go, because some of us associate that with knowledge or effectiveness or whatever the case is. So now we're seeing that as the healer, you're a good facilitator, but you don't do it. They help themselves. Do you train other people? I know you teach. What classes do you teach? What information?
I teach all types of classes. I have a series I've been running for a while. It's called Awaken Your Gifts Within for Beginners. And it's a 6-week series, and I teach different modalities so that people can come in and experience on an entry-level basis of, oh, I like tarot. Let me explore that. I like crystals and pens. Let me explore that, or mediumship, or psychic. So I open up all these different modalities so that people can come in and explore them on a basic level. And then if they decide that they want to continue that path, I can put them with other light workers that can help them if I can't help them. I also teach mediumship and psychic. I have practice circle groups twice a week where people can come and practice mediumship and psychic abilities in a safe, loving environment. And I try to make it all affordable because I want to reach the masses. I want to reach the blue-collar worker, the everyday person really can use this help.
Yes. Now, out of all of this, and you were activated at a young age, why did you get into the healing? Why?
I'm spirit taught. I'll be honest with you. I get taught by spirit and then I read up on it. So it's reversed for me, okay? Actually, I had a spiritual 2x4 about 4 years ago where I got fired from my corporate job. And, I was in the automotive industry for 33 years. I was quite successful. And I was making really good money at it, but the spiritual 2x4 hit me and they just fired me out of the blue. Never been written up or anything like that. Part of me was doing the happy dance inside and part of me was a little shocked. And once I got over that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something that feeds my soul for once. I'm going to follow this calling that I've got. And I thought it was going to be the mediumship, psychic, and the teaching. And then all of a sudden, they started opening up this healing modality. I work with the Gold Christ Light also. That opened up first. And I would do that remotely and in person. And I would see attachments on people, either energetic or parasitic attachments. I can pull those off and remove those. I also do work with my own modality of the Gold Christ Healing, which is, I've never seen anything like it.
What is that? How did it happen with you? How were you activated with that?
It happened with meditation. I'd go into meditation and ignorance is bliss. If you don't know any better, you're open to whatever. So spirit was guiding me. I call it down the rabbit hole. And I was just playing, they like, do this. I'm like, okay, what the heck? I don't know any different. So I went ahead and did it. And it got to the point that people were showing up in my meditations. And I could scan their body and then I would text them later because these were people I knew. And they're like, yeah, how did you know? Oh, I don't feel bad anymore. So I'm a skeptic, so I wanted proof. And one time I was in a meditation, I was doing the Gold Christ Light, and it's like they just time traveled or just propelled me to another place and another space, and I'm in front of someone, and I'm being told, heal them. I don't know where I was. I can assume where I was because it was a hut. There was a dirt floor. It was like a tribe there. And there was an old woman laying on the floor. And they told me to do the Gold Christ Light and heal her. And when I got done doing that, I got sucked back out immediately out of that hut. It was like something out of a movie. And then I'm back in my body. And that happened a couple times. And so I started incorporating the Gold Christ Light healing with my chakra tune-ups, with the tuning forks and crystal bowls. And I was getting some amazing results with that. So that's how that started. But then they started taking over my body a little bit. And I just allowed it. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And it just progressed into the trance healing. I didn't even know what trance healing was before this started happening to me. And I don't mix the chakra tune-ups and the Gold Christ healing with the trance healing because energetically it wipes me out for some reason. So I keep it separate. But with the trance healing, at the end of the trance healing session, I started doing the Gold Christ healing and scanning the person's body because then I'm in charge. Spirit's in charge of the trance healing. I know nothing what they're doing. The Gold Christ healing afterwards, I scan their body. I'll pull out attachments, past life attachments. I'll do auric field repair work. I'll even do DNA and blueprinting work if Spirit guides me to that direction. So I've combined the two modalities in my sessions now.
Excellent. And a higher amplified energy, are people getting maybe even a more effective response to that?
I believe so, yes. I really do, because that opens up a dialogue where I can talk to them about what I see. And then I get information, and that opens up the healing, because I find that a lot of these illnesses or injuries or whatever it may be are caused by something on a cellular level that they've stored in their body.
And here's the thing, on a cellular level, is that in connection with this life? Or if that's the eternal life, because the soul remembers everything, but each life is a minute in the hour, and all this brain is a computer. Are you able to help people reorganize their thought patterns as well? Not just a physical healing, but a mental, emotional healing that has transcended into a physical healing.
Yeah, I do a lot of that work now. My sessions used to be 15 minutes, and now they're about an hour because I sit and I talk to them prior. we do the healing, and then I talk afterwards. And yeah, I do past life. If there's something that pops up that needs to be healed, spirit makes me aware of that, and I do work with that. And I do a lot of coaching and a lot of guidance on how they can help themselves on a spiritual level to help with their health.
You know, each of us are the Akashic records.
Yes.
So I'm finding it interesting that you can soul trace back and go, boink, here's this life and here's what happened with that. Have you been able to take people back through a soul trace or past life, whatever you'd like to call it, and they start connecting with that lifetime and it helps them? Because for me, you know, I was afraid of heights. And before I would do anything, I'd be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to go through some past lives and I'm going to see what I find. Like, I don't know what the frig I'm looking for. And so Chi, my master guide, was like, well, Jamie, why don't you create a target then? And so I said, oh, you know what? In this life, I am terrified of heights. I haven't fallen into anything. I didn't die, nothing. So I went and did a soul trace, and about the 1930s, it was on a big 40-story building as we were building it in the scaffolding, and there was this big bolt on the beam, and I stepped on it, and whoa, fell 40 stories. Now, the interesting thing is, if it's a drop-off, I'm freaked, but if it's a mountain with that, I'm fine. Do you have any past life dynamics that maybe you've soul traced past life and come across insight to help blend even more solidly who you are as that eternal spiritual being? Have you been able to amplify that just by soul searching your soulscape?
I really haven't done much past life personally. There's only been one time, and I just sort of fell into a past life. And with people, when I see their past lives, I see it as attachments, as metal hardware attached to their body that's creating a physical problem for them. And then I remove that. Sometimes they will show me what that past life was about. They'll play it out like a movie in my third eye, but not all the time. So I don't really go deep in. I don't take the person back into that past life. I leave that up to the people that do that professionally, that are trained to do that. I just plant the seed that, oh, you had a past life, and I could see that you were a knight and that you had died in battle and that you had a sword, you know, in your midsection, and that's why you're having problems right now. So you might want to revisit that to try and heal that with somebody that does past lives.
And they're like, okay, but I'm terrified. You know, because that's the very thing is, yeah, a lot of those symptoms are that remembrance, that vibrational pattern of that. And so, you know, when being able to do that, that's huge because it's empowerment. People can help heal themselves. Now, when I was getting into this, because I was kind of like you, I had, for me, 17 years in the hospitality, always being of service in the presentation. And for that, you know, you have the benefits, you got all the 401k, all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, when I started doing this professionally, before I started, you know, the practicality, my former father-in-law, great guy, but he's like, Jamie, they're not going to come and see you. You don't have that piece of paper on the wall. And I'm like, wow, no, I certainly understand that. But my whole life has been training. So, you know, I guess we'll see. And then after a number of years of doing it, I knew you could do it. Now, 19 years, I don't feel like I've had to work a day. Because you know, like I do, that's a scary leap sometimes. I'm not silly. I had to integrate it for like 6 months until I was solid, and then I went on professionally. Have you had other opportunities to go back into the work world and chose not to?
I could have went right back to work. What I did, I was a service and parts director for a car dealership, and I did that for 33 years. So I could have went right back into the car dealership world, but I didn't want to. I wanted to feed my soul. I wanted to be of service. So I went from healing cars and people now to healing people and teaching them. Because when people's cars would break, they would break. And I didn't realize how much healing work I was doing around people when they came in my office upset. So I just do my own thing now, and I don't have to sell my soul to the corporate world. Sorry.
No, right, exactly. Now, how has the family connected with this? Are they open? Or are they just like, oh, it's just Tina? Is there just a complete acceptance, or how are they vibing?
I think they're totally supportive. I mean, I have two boys, a 28-year-old and an 18-year-old. I've been married 35 years. And they're very, very supportive of it. They are gifted, but they don't really embrace it like I do. And they like to tease me. I mean, honestly, they keep me grounded. They keep me real because they keep me in check. And that's really good. But yeah, no, my youngest son, he tells people about me, and I've gotten a few clients because he's like, well, you should go see my mom. She can help heal you. But I'm trying to teach my children how to use their psychic abilities in everyday life, how they can use it in their business that they're doing. My youngest wants to be a police officer. I said, police officers are so psychic, and so are crooks. I said, so you really need to tap into that, because that's going to save your life someday, that psychic ability that you have, that sixth sense.
And did either of them ever have a spiritual experience to solidify it? And what I mean by that is, I have two boys of my own, and both of them use their abilities. And my oldest son is a police officer, so he uses that energy very well. But there was a time where, we had the old school TV, the big old fat TV in the back, and I'd gotten him a new flat screen. And so we had him on the dresser, and we had unplugged the TV and wrapped the cord over the top, and both of us were picking up. I'm on one side and he's on the other. And as we're walking away, all of a sudden the TV comes on, and it says, "There is nothing to fear but fear itself," and click went off. And I'm like, what? Did you hear anything? Was there anything? He said, yeah, there was nothing to fear. I'm like, frickin' A, good. Because, you question that. But when he had that, he had no choice but to go, the freaking plugs hang over the TV. It wasn't plugged in, yet it tuned in. In addition, I kind of feel like it's very interesting that you have a lot of symbology in your life experience. Let's see, it's 33 years. There's something else that's kind of referred to in a 33-year thing. Oh, yeah, and then you're going to work with that golden light consciousness of the Christ consciousness. That's kind of interesting and a little symbolic there.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, both my boys, my oldest one, he wanted to see spirit. So, and he's married, and his wife is a little scared of this. And one night he woke up, and there was a spirit in the room, and he's shaking his wife. He's like, "Wake up! There's a spirit here. I see it. I see it." She pulls the covers over her head, and she's like, "I don't want to see it. That's you. I don't want anything to do with that." And then my youngest, he had an out-of-body. I don't know how to explain it. We were driving home for Sedona. And all of a sudden, he's in the back seat, and I thought he was acting up. He was crying and very upset. And I'm like, just be quiet. And I turn around, and he is having this experience where he is having a past life experience in the present. And he was standing on top of a mountain, and he was speaking another language. And he was cheering on some warriors. And he was having a panic attack, too, because it had taken over his body. And me as a mom, I'm having a panic attack because I'm driving down I-17, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. But I had a friend on the speakerphone, and she was walking him through it, calming him down and helping him come out of it. And that was an eye-opener for him. I mean, that was real. He actually had a past life experience in his body right now.
And you know what's interesting? That brings up an interesting point of the potential that if we can search in past lives, well, this is the future compared to our past, and this is the past compared to our future. What if some of that deja vu is a future you dropping that information into your conscious awareness to go, oh, I've done this, I've not done it, but I've done it. It's so solid. What if that's the potential of you as the eternal being being able to continuously serve and feed and nourish yourself? Have you ever seen any other yous? Because for me, there's one time in my life I have seen another me, physically identical, but different clothes, everything. And it was like, holy, you question that sanity. And when it happened, that was major. And then along the years, I've understood there's many other things besides that. But to get some validation in my later years of experience in life, now to be able to go back and tap into that to go, oh, I got this. That also me see this a little bit in this experience. Have you had a lot of realizations, like real time, you have that experience, and then it gives you more insight and knowledge about a particular circumstance or a person?
Hang on one second. She dropped.
Yep. Okay. I'm talking to myself like usual. So.
Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
You know, it's really cool because there's so many different modalities, but I find that pretty fascinating that in her own life experience, 33 years, that was her comment, you know, and then to be together, 35, which is 8, which is the metaphysical into the physical, turning on its side, it's infinity, a lot of symbology for her.
Awesome stuff. Okay, now I'm getting a reading on here that says Tina is unavailable. Okay.
Hey,
Well, come on. You know.
Well, and so, you know, being able to work with this, and there's quite a few people that we're going to be able to bring on. I want to get as much knowledge and sharing of these great people and their talents, their spiritual awareness, to bring even more knowledge to the public. You know, if in any way we can just be ourselves and share information, we don't know any better or no worse, just maybe differently in our own life experience. But from that different perspective, you can sometimes gain a new perspective with even more information. So how about you, Bob? What experience have you ever had with your own realization? Because I already know you're very intuitive. You read that stuff very well. But like your own spiritual experience, was there ever a time you just sitting there and all of a sudden this life energy comes over you or this energy feeling? Anything like that?
Oh, we've spoken about that before. I mean, there was times that you know, automatically, you know, you look around and you're not where you were 2 seconds ago. Things are different.
Yeah.
Things changed, you know, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're back to where you were before, and you're like, wait a minute, what the heck's going on here? So I mean, you know, really, that's the difference between having cornflakes for breakfast or eggs. I mean, it's crazy, but it's true. I mean, it's like, whoa, what's going on? I told you the other story, and it's been all over the net. The time that I actually went to Egypt, I was there. I was standing there. I felt real sand. I smelled real smells. I could feel heat and dry air. You know, I mean, it was like, I mean, I had all 5 senses were covered completely.
And see, when you're using all of those 5 physical senses, you create the 5 metaphysical senses into the 6th sense. And just like you're doing, that became tactile senses, man. You could feel that. Did you feel differently? Like, did that vibe of energy, did that last you a while? Were you able to maybe understand a few more things in your own life experience by having that past life connection?
You know, the only thing that it convinced me of at that point, that it exists. There are other dimensions. There are other places. You're not just in one place. By the way, Tina's back. The thing that did get me. See, now I was talking to you and I was doing this other stuff at the same time. Good time, Tina. Good one.
Good.
But I see that five hands. But at the same time, really, my girlfriend's always loved me. But anyway, I knew you guys were going to laugh. But no, seriously, the thing that I was talking about was when you're doing your out of body, it is out of body. I mean, you can't turn around and say, well, it was a dream. No. Like I said to you, the first time I ever had it, Tina, I said this to Jamie. I could feel the sand in my hand. I could feel it on my feet. I could feel the wind on my face. I could smell the Nile. I could put my hand on the cornerstone of the pyramids. I had my hand on it. And I'm sitting there saying, oh, wait a minute, man, I must be completely out of my mind. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm here. There was the realization that it was real. I convinced myself like that it was real because, like I said, all 5 senses worked. It wasn't an image. It wasn't something that was just passing. I was standing there. And then when it was all finished, I went back.
Did you connect with anybody like physically that you saw in that soulscape of experience? Or
Nope. It was late evening. The sun was just a little bit of a thin little thing in that on the horizon that I was at. I mean, you know, so you could like see what was around you. I saw no one at all. The only sounds that I heard was a little breeze. You could see, you know, hear like a breeze coming through palm trees. You could see a little bit of sand moving and things. It was unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. And that was the only one I had so far.
And it's interesting, but that brings up a point of the mediumship, the psychic mediumship. And I tell people we have many lifetimes in this one. Because, I'll question, we're like, okay, well, here's the thing. I believe scientifically they found that basically every 7 years you have a whole new body, all the cells have rejuvenated and all that. My point is, who is the you that continues to think even as those bodies keep changing every 7 years? Now, it brings up an interesting point to me, Tina, is are you able to get them on a cellular structure enough to where they can amplify that energy in a variety of different ways? Like, have they gotten better ideas in a way of knowing their own strengths or their abilities? And you, like me, everyone's a psychic medium, but when you can put that practicality, they're like, oh yeah, I guess we do have new bodies. And well, right. So my thing is are your abilities able to tap into the rejuvenation of the cellular structure that is part of that 7-year process, that you can target it, activate it, and let it heal itself? Or do you know how that might potentially interact with other things?
The only time I've ever been able to do that was with a young girl who had leukemia. And when I was doing healing work on her, I did the Gold Christ healing on her, not the trance. I was able to take her to another dimension and put her cells like that of an infant. So that's what I did when I was doing the healing in the Gold Christ. And ironically enough, when she went back to the doctor, because they were going to have to put her in the hospital for 6 months and do bone marrow transplants if her count did not get to where it needed to be, which would create a hardship on the family, a young girl. So when they guided me to take her to another dimension, which I call it the iridescent dimension, it's an iridescent white color. When I took her up there, they had me visualize her cells going back to that of an infant. Well, when she went back for the test, the doctors were shocked that her cells resembled that of an infant. So they sent her blood work off to be analyzed because they hadn't seen anything like that. Needless to say, her count was where it needed to be, so she didn't have to spend 6 months in the hospital. But that's the only time that I've had an experience taking a cell back to the origination, to the blueprint.
So we see just by the intent and facilitation alone, they're able to click with it, go, I'm healed. Wait a minute. The intent was to do the rejuvenation of the younger purity of energy without the toxicity. And if she vibed with that, she helped heal herself. That must be very rewarding, one, to just be who you are, Tina, but two, to have other people empower themselves within their own healing abilities. They may not even realize what they're doing, they just do it.
I love it. I love to be able to tell them, hey, you play a vital role in this. And I can't heal someone that's holding on to an illness and it's their identity. They're never going to let that go. So, I've had patients like that before too, where they just weren't going to let it go. That was their identity. And no matter how much spirit was going to be doing on them, it didn't matter. Because that's what they came into this lifetime to experience. I can't take away those experiences if they're meant to stay like that.
Right, you're not going to manipulate it.
You know what I was going to say though. If you want to fix a computer, sometimes your computer goes upside down and backwards. You can backdate the computer. Those program put into the computer a past date. Maybe a month before, maybe 2 weeks before, when it was fine, when there was nothing wrong with the computer. The computer automatically goes back to that date and then begins there and comes back up. So the error is not there. She's doing the same to a body. I've said this a couple of times then on the show. The body is similar in many, many ways to a computer. It works, it's programmed, it can be fixed, it can break. All these things are there. You need someone like Tina to be able to find out what broke and fix it.
Now, you pick up the diseasement with people. Can you pick up the easement with people? the health dynamics that could amplify the lower vibrational frequencies of that diseasement? Or how does that work for you?
Well, between the two modalities with trance, like I said, I'm just an innocent bystander. They just use me. I'm a conduit that puts the realm together with the person. With the Gold Christ light, I can see things before it becomes a problem, and educate the person on, hey, you have a choice. You can choose to change your habits or change your eating or whatever to stop this from happening, or you can continue down your path. You have free will in this. So I really don't get that much into that with the chakra tune-ups. Sometimes it'll show up that somebody may not be having an issue, but I'm picking it up that it's starting. So they can take an opportunity to stop that from happening if they choose to. Everybody has free will in this.
Now, your connection to animals.
Yes.
An animal communicator and a healer, I know you're very talented. Are horses the only beautiful animals that you work with in a healing modality, or do you work with a variety of others?
I work with any animal, honestly. Horses, just because I have horses and I have a strong connection with them. And I have a client that's a professional barrel racer, and I work on her horses. But I've also worked on dogs with healing, with trance healing. And I do that remotely because I don't want the animal to, a different environment, a stranger, they don't relax as much. So I prefer to do that remotely, and I've had some great feedback on that. And the animals, actually, I have one person that their dog absolutely hates the vet. So I was doing trance healing, and all of a sudden, when I connected, when spirit connected with that dog went crazy like it was in the vet's office, because the spirit veterinarians were in there working on the dog.
Nice. Now, that kind of a dynamic, if you're able to affect them at a distance, which you can, but is there possibly a better result from the animals because they don't question, they don't negate, they're just consciously working with that? Do they have the opportunity to heal more effectively or a little bit more efficiently? And especially because they're not distracted, although physically they didn't see you, metaphysically they're seeing the crap out of these people going, oh, shoot, man. That kind of a thing just tells me also animals and children naturally use their abilities. They don't question it, they just go with it. And I think that that's a big portion of, have you possibly seen a reaction from an animal that you might have done a session on, or a few, that maybe became even more in tune to reading people's energies or interactions and dynamics of circumstances? You know what I'm saying? Has any animal gotten a little more psychic or intuitive because of that?
The animals are really intuitive to begin with. They're like on steroids. I mean, they just know things, and they pick up things in their auric field so quickly. I haven't really had any feedback on that, so I couldn't tell you for sure if an animal psychic abilities are stronger. I do know that these animals have a lot of healing abilities, and they help the owners a lot with the healing. But no, I really haven't had any experience with that. With my mare, I have a horse. She will not allow me to work on her in person. She only allows it at a distance because it's too much for her. So it's pretty interesting to watch that.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. Have you seen that you've done a healing on an animal, and that maybe they're on a farm or they have other animals, and just by their vibe that they've created in a new cellular structure, have you ever heard of people going, you know what else happened? You did that session, and we had another horse over there was having a big old lump in their leg, and when that lump came up, it disappeared. Have you seen the amplified energy of the intuitive spiritual abilities that have literally just spread out, shared with other animals around because of the expansion? Or
No,
have you thought about that?
I haven't really thought about that, and I haven't asked the barns that I work in if they've experienced that. Maybe I should. That's a good thing. I know with my horse healing clinics, all of the horses, when I start doing healing work at the clinic, all of the horses come in and they join in the healing, and it's amazing to watch how they help facilitate healing also for the people. And they come in to get healing, and they'll, because I have a few horses that are old, I have my senior citizens in my barn, and they will come around just to get the healing. So they do pick up on that.
You know, it'd be interesting to see, because with your team, do you ever ask anyone to come on to your team as well? Because for me, most of them are already there naturally. But I'll guarantee you, this is not the only universe that exists. Right. Have you ever gone interdimensional? Have you ever gone universal and pulled some other vibrational beings from other universes or other dimensions in order to be more amplified and efficient? Because if you can affect, in this case, you know, the horse, and you're saying, well, they all start vibing with that and they all kind of come around, couldn't you take that through the whole consciousness, that frequency of communication through the animals, that you could affect, well, have the opportunity to amplify that energy and all of them be on that frequency at once?
I do believe that I do pull in some ET energy, some ET healing, because they have seen those overlay on me when I'm doing the healing. So I know that there's some other dimensions helping out also. I just call it the spirit realm, even though it could be, you know, ETs and things like that. I just generalize that. But yeah, I've seen that come through, and they've done healing work also. I had a different energy come through last Sunday. I was working on a boy with autism. First time I've had an opportunity to work with a child with autism. And the energy that came through was unlike anything that I've ever experienced with this child. It was a calming energy. It felt different. I could feel the energy around him in my hands. It was just totally different. And here's a kid that came in my center, bouncing off the walls. He was a 7-year-old, just bouncing off the walls. Couldn't contain him. I laid him on the table and asked him to pretend to be asleep. And Spirit immediately started working on him. He literally, his whole energy field changed, completely changed. And I felt that he probably went to sleep within that. I only worked on him for maybe 10 minutes. And when he got up, it was great to hear him express on how he felt. He felt pressure on his chest. He felt like somebody was touching his chest. And he was nice and calm afterwards. We're doing an experiment with that because I don't know how spirit can affect autism. I'm not quite sure, but I'm very anxious to find out.
Well, yeah, the person will affect themselves. Just get them on that frequency and they'll tune into it. And then they'll heal themselves. I think that's a really great aspect, because not only is it the physical, but the mental, emotional, all of those things will vibe as an increased higher vibe of energy. I think it's a really good dynamic. And so how long have you been doing this professionally?
Wow. That's a good question. I got fired 3.5 years ago. So professionally as a business 3.5 years ago, but I was on my path a little bit before that, doing it part-time and wanting to ease into this as a retirement thing. That didn't work out.
Time, man, that's the point. Exactly.
So I feel I could reach more people by doing it professionally than I could part-time, so I can help more people. And that was one of the reasons that I decided to stay out of corporate America. I have more time to touch more people and affect more people doing it full-time.
And I think once you establish that and you accept it as a reality, then it gets even stronger and people are more comfortable to sit in front of you. You know, and I think you have that healing vibe and you're genuine. People know that they feel it. And I'm sure that you probably have that, but a lot of people who come to me graciously, they feel very safe. And they'll be like, you know, I've never, ever said this to anybody. And I'm like, yeah, and? You know, because don't kid yourself. As they open up, they're eyeballing you going, you twitching? Huh? You judging me? Yeah, right. I'm like, yeah, I've done that in many other things, other lifetimes. And when they can open up like that and then start to express it, I see them shift to go. They went from a chokehold to literally they'll breathe deeper. Have you seen some of those dynamics where the people heal themselves right in front of you? Not necessarily doing healing, but the mental connection.
Oh, I have. I mean, when I've done trance and I've done it as a demonstration, I demonstrate once a month. the audience can literally see the person's face completely change and relax, and they just don't look like the same person when they sat down in that chair. So yeah, it is amazing. And what's nice about like you and me, Jamie, is that we both are just normal people. You've got kids, I've got kids. I'm the person next door. I'm just your normal person. I'm not a crate. I don't dress crate. I'm just normal. I am who I am. And there's a niche for that right now, because there's a lot of people out there, I feel, that are getting away from the churches and getting away from man-made religion, and they're on a spiritual path, and they're wanting people who are normal to go to and say, hey, you're a credible person. You're not a crazy person that, sits in the desert naked dancing to the stars.
Well, once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah. But there's a need for that out there right now. And you're filling a niche, I'm filling a niche. And people that vibrate to you may not vibrate to me, and vice versa. So we do need more people out there doing this type of work and enlightening them, letting them know they have the power within to do this. I'm just opening up their eyes and giving them some tools to say, here, go with it, explore it.
See, and I love that, because that's my high. I'm like a crackhead for my spirituality, man. More readings! Because I love to see people do that. To me, nobody needs to be fixed. Nobody needs to be saved. Showing the power within, self-realized, and begin to live life. That's huge, because, most of us are used to surviving, and when's it over? Like, dang. And so for this, a lot of because I've been doing the psychic stuff my whole life, but it took for me to watch my whole family die one by one every 2 years from cancer that really challenged me. And so I was like, what? If I can't help my family, I'm going to help this entire planet and myself. I'm not stupid. I need the healing just like I give. It's a win-win. And so the more people I can help them help themselves, the more I'm helping me. That's the point. And it takes more effort mentally to think of an ocean droplet than the universal everless. It's all your intent. Wherever you want to go, there you are.
Well, every time we work with a client, we heal ourselves. And I think that's what really started with me, because when I was 23, I had a tragic accident. I was involved with a horseback riding accident with my mom, and she died. And it happened that quick. And then at that time, I lost several core people in my life within a 5-year period. And so by doing this work, it helped me with the grief. It helped me to be able to help other people, because, I really specialize in the grief aspect of it, because I've been through so much. And if I can get through it, you can get through it. That's what I tell my clients. And, but yeah, it's to be able to help people, give them the tools to help themselves and to help others. That's what's important. That's I love that. I love what I do. I love the teaching. I love empowering the students. I love watching them see their first dead person or connect to their first spirit. It is so cool to watch them. I get a lot of joy out of that.
And they feel comfortable around you too. If you're comfortable, they'll be comfortable. It's like, no, that's the point. They need to know this is so natural. It's supernatural. It's first nature to our being. It's not second nature.
Yeah, we should shut it down.
Well, of course, that's the thing. You're made to do nothing and allowed to do everything, as crazy as it sounds. So it's that type of connection, vibrational match and all that kind of stuff that we first needed. For me, I needed to heal myself the best that I can. So I'm vibing with a higher frequency, not the frustration so much, but the enlightenment, the empowerment, the best that I could. Not everything's perfect, but I knew I needed to be on a different channel. Otherwise, why would I expect it to change if I'm on the same channel? It's the old sign of insanity. Give the same approach and expect a different end result. Tina, how can people get a hold of you? What's your contact information?
My website is www.tinaescoto.com. My phone number is 480-220-9233. You can also reach me on Facebook under Tina Escoto. And my email address is Escoto, ESCOTO, Tina, TINA, at gmail.com. And if that doesn't work, smoke signals work really well out here in the desert.
Good. That's it, man. Woo-hoo! Bobby, you have some questions?
Oh, man, I'm telling you, smoke. Yeah, it was good.
You gotta put.
Yeah, well, no, it's legal out there.
Vibration.
Yeah. The pot's legal out there. Anyway, yeah. Well, hey, you'll be in a world of your own, no doubt about it. But what I was going to say was that too, and that if anybody wants to know more information about Tina, you can go to the blog. Just go to bobcharlesshow.blogspot.com, and you can also go right into www.pyramid1network.com. Click on the little pyramids that are there in the nice little picture. And when you click on that, you'll go right into the landing page. In the landing page, in the next 24 hours, you will see this video and our talking right in the middle of the landing page. Just click on it, you can see it, and you can enjoy the whole show over again. If you missed something, bone up on it. This is a teaching show. Learn from it.
Bobby.
There you go.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It was a pleasure spending the afternoon with you.
Don't move, and don't move, and I got the controls. But you know what I want to tell everybody too, Annette? Right here, right now, you're listening to, yes, oh yeah, a view of humanity. We got humidity over here. It's Florida. Come on. It's great. But anyway. Jamie Clark, he'll be back not next week, but the week after that. Next week, I'm going to be talking to some people from far, far, far away, and you are going to enjoy the show like you have no idea. Thank you very much for everybody being here tonight. God bless y'all. Bob Charles. Out.